First question is from Taylor Lauren F. How much protein is too much protein?
Oh, yeah. This is a tough one to answer because it's a lot. I hate
395 grams.
Exactly. No, I really hate the fact that I have to say this so often, but it really does depend on.
Do you clear rooms with your gas? That would be an indicator.
Actually, yes, dude.
Poor digestion.
Yeah.
There's been myths in the past about eating too much protein, bad for your kidneys, this and that. None of that's true. We tolerate protein very well, generally speaking. But on an individual level, I've worked with clients where, more than, 90 grams of protein, they just didn't digest very well. And that was okay. And they felt better, lower protein. Then I've worked with clients who very high protein diets did very well. Now, of course, you need to make sure you get essential nutrients in your diet. So if you eat just protein and you never have enough essential fats, you actually starve your body. In fact, there's a syndrome where hunters in the West would actually starve because all they would hunt would be rabbits during a particular season. They would actually
so lean.
They wouldn't get enough fat.
There's a great Alone episode like that.
Oh, that's right, where he gets the
I think he's I think they're in Alaska at that time.
Saw that.
And there's like tons of rabbits, and he's got like rabbits galore, but then he's still like looks like he's totally nutrient deprived. Yeah, malnourished.
I think they call it rabbit starvation or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, how much is too much protein? This really depends on the person. I would gauge it by digestion mainly, energy probably second, and then just quality of life, just general quality of life. I know that we say, and the studies do show, that about 0.6 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is ideal for muscle building and for satiety and fat loss. But if that's too much for you, so long as you get your essential protein, then you're okay. You got to eat in a way that makes you feel the healthiest.
Now, what is it? I mean, I know initially there was a bit of alarmist kind of fear mongering around mTOR and cancer and all that. Is there any kind of clarity with that now?
What's interesting about that is context matters a lot. Okay, so in a cancer environment, okay, when you do have cancer, you can feed that cancer with carbohydrates and with amino acids. Does that mean carbohydrates and amino acids, proteins, cause cancer? No. So mTOR is a mammalian target rapamycin, I think it's called, is a driver of muscle growth, or one of the drivers of muscle growth, but it causes cells to grow. If you have tons of mTOR in a cancer environment, theoretically, it could cause the cancer to grow. Just like if you're in a cancer environment and you've got cancer in your body and then you eat in a bulk, you can also feed the cancer and it'll grow. Just like fasting has been shown to be anti-cancer. So no, it doesn't cause cancer. The context matters dramatically. Right. So if you're, if you just got a diagnosis for cancer, you probably want, and it depends on the type of cancer, and it's very complex, but you're probably going to want to reduce overall calories. But again, it depends on the individual. You're going to want to look at maybe reducing carbohydrates and eating essential protein, but not too much over that. But it depends. It really does depend.
It is funny because it's so about digestion and what you can assimilate. And I know I used to get a lot of grief from even my parents because all I wanted to eat was meat growing up. And I really, nothing else satisfied me just, meat. And it's one of those things I hear all the time from different camps about too much protein is going to be at a cancer risk, or it's going to be detrimental towards your gain if you tip over a certain amount. And I'm just I've never really seen that play out in terms of with my clients.
Well, this is an interesting conversation to have because I think the way I present it would really depend on who's sitting across the table from me, because I really feel like most people live in the ends of the spectrum on the protein intake, right? Most of my career training average people, I would say that most all clients that I had under consumed protein. They didn't get adequate protein. Just simply increasing their protein intake. I saw huge gains in them building muscle and their metabolism speeding up and them feeling healthier and better and being more satiated from their meals. So I saw huge benefits from increasing it. Then I get later on in my life, I get more surrounded by the bodybuilding community because I move into that space. Then I'm on the other end of the spectrum where everybody thinks that protein is this magical nutrient that you can never get too much of it. And you've got guys eating 300-400 grams of protein every single day. And then to your point, just stinking up the place because their body is having a hard time digesting all that. And they're just farting and farting and farting. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
So it really depends on who is sitting across from me and what their typical diet looks like on what direction I'm going to push them, because
so individualized. And I think too, like even the quality of it matters a lot. Like, because of that fact that you're not digesting it well, there's probably something that, and there's certain like, especially if you're intaking it a lot from like whey protein, or like I've noticed even with myself, like different brands out there, like I'll take a whey protein and it'll have a completely different effect in terms of my digestion. I'll have like a lot of gas versus like none, like it's nice and easily digestible. But yeah, that for sure wasn't something I really considered before. I just thought like, like taking a shake, like it's going to end up, you're going to end up this big cloud of gas.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I train, obviously we train so many people. You see people that are so different. Like I had clients, and I'm like this, where I could eat a large protein meal and feel fine, like no bloat, feel totally fine, not drowsy, not feel lethargic. I could eat a large carbohydrate meal and it can make me feel bloated. It can make me feel tired. I've had clients the same. And then I've had clients on the other end where they're like, oh yeah, if I eat a big steak, I need to go take a nap and I just feel bogged down. But if I eat a lot of vegetables and rice, and then I feel really light and I feel good. So this is a very individual question.
I think it also matters too what you do consistently, and it's like, are we measuring this like a one-off day? Like for example, I know that where I like to be at like a one to one, right? One gram to 1 pound of body weight. So if I weigh 225, I want somewhere between 200 to 225 grams of protein. Sometimes I fall a little under that. Sometimes I go over that. Like sometimes I just kind of pay attention to that, especially when I'm tracking and trying to make moves. And I go, oh, today I ended up, I just had a lot of meat, right? And it ended up being 300 grams of protein. I don't freak out. Just the next day, I'm not as concerned of hitting my 225. So, being aware of that. And I think what you do consistently, where I again, going back to the extremes, where I see a problem is the people that grossly underconsume consistently, because here's another thing, 50 grams of protein just one day isn't also going to hurt you either.
No.
If you only had one day of 50 grams of protein and then you go back to your normal hitting your targets, not bad at all. In fact, there's probably some benefits to that.
Sure.
So knowing what you do consistently and where you fall, I think is important, and then trying to adjust accordingly. And I think if you're falling in that kind of 1-to-1 range, that's why I like that. It's just easy. I know 0.6 to 0.8 is what all the research says, but it's how many clients are going to get their calculator out and try and figure that out. It's a pretty safe bet to say, hey, you weigh this much. If you're relatively fit, you don't have to be super fit, but relatively fit, here's a good target for you to be, give or take a few grams to this point. And if you have a really low day one day, ain't a big deal. If you have a really high day one day, not a big deal, so long as you're kind of hovering around that, right?